Hadith 40. La ilaha illallah is the most valuable of more than 70 branches of Iman. An Abi Hurayrata qala Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam Imanu bid'a'un wa sab'una shu'abatu fa'afdaluha qawlu la ilaha illallahu wa adnaha imatatu Allah anil tariqi wal hayatu shu'abatu minal iman. And this is Rawa Sita. Oh, okay, it's narrated by the six, Bukhari, Muslim, Tirmidhi, Abu Huraira, God be pleased with him, reports that Rasulullah, divine contact upon him and wholeness, has said that faith has more than 70 branches, of which the most important is the recitation of there is no God except God, and the least one is to remove some obstacle from the way, and modesty also is a special requisite of belief. And some say 77, but 77 is larger, as it's a bigger number than 70. So that statement still remains true if the other statement was also said. Note, shyness, modesty has been specifically mentioned because it serves to safeguard against many sins like adultery, theft, dirty talk, nakedness, abusive language, etc. Similarly, the fear of bad reputation leads to virtuous acts. In fact, fear of getting a bad name in this as well as the next life makes a man do all good deeds, including, of course, salah, hajj, zakah, ritual prayers, pilgrimage, obliged charity, and obedience in all aspects to Almighty Allah. Thus, there is a well-known proverb, be shameless and do whatever you like. There is also one hadith to the effect that Idlam tastahya fasna'a ma shi'ta. If you do not feel ashamed, then do whatever you like. The fact that we avoid misdeeds for fear of disgrace and shame sense of shyness and shame makes one think, if I do not offer salah, I will face disgrace in the akhirah, the hereafter. But if one has lost all sense of shame, he will say, what does it matter if others call me low? Further note, according to the above-mentioned hadith, there are more than 70 branches of Iman. How many hadith? This number is given as 77. Scholars have written detailed commentaries on these 77 branches. Imam Abu Hatim ibn Hibban Rahmat alayh wrote, I considered the meaning of this hadith for a long time. When I counted the forms of worship, the number far exceeds 77. If I counted the things which are specifically mentioned in the hadith as branches of Iman, their number was less. The things counted as part of Iman in the Quran, but also total less than this. I, however, found that the total of such things mentioned in both the Quran as well as the hadith agreed with this number. I therefore concluded that the above-mentioned hadith meant all these things. Al-Qadbi Iyad Rahmat alayh writes that people have made special efforts to give details of these branches of Iman by means of ijtihad, but failure to know all these details does not mean any defect in one's Iman, as its basic principles, with their details, are so well known. Al-Tabi Rahmat alayh says that the full detail of the exact number is known only to Allah and His Rasul, but they are there in the Islamic code, Sharia, and therefore it does not matter if their details are not known. Imam al-Nawawi Rahmat alayh has written that the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam had declared Kalimat al-Tawheed, i.e. La ilaha illallah, to be the most important branch of Iman. This proves that it's the highest thing in Iman, and that there's no other branch of Iman superior to it. Thus, belief in Tawheed is the most important essential of Iman, and compulsory for every believer, or everyone that would even be considered Muslim. The least thing in the order of merit is the removal of anything that is likely to cause obstruction or inconvenience to any Muslim. The degree of importance of all is the remaining essentials of Iman, lying in between the two. It is enough to believe in them in a general way, just as it is necessary to believe in the Malaika in a general way, without knowing their names and details. Some muhaddithin have however written books about their details. Abu Abdullah al-Halimi Rahmat alayh wrote a book, Fawaid al-Minhaj, on this topic. Imam Bihaqi Rahmat alayh and Sheikh Abd al-Jalil Rahmat alayh wrote books which they called Shu'ab al-Iman. Ishaq ibn al-Qurtubi Rahmat alayh wrote Kitab al-Mahsa'i, and Imam Abu Hatim wrote Wasif al-Iman wa Shu'abih. The commentators of the Sahih Bukhari, the most famous collection of hadith, have summarized the contents of these books at one place. The meaning of this summary is that complete Iman is, in reality, consisting of three parts. Firstly, confirmation by the heart of all the essentials of Iman. Secondly, the confirmation by word of mouth. And thirdly, the confirmation by our physical action. Thus, the branches of Iman are divided into three categories, the first of which concern the intention, belief, and action of the heart. The second concern the use of the tongue, and the third concern all the remaining parts of the body. All the things of Iman are included in these three categories. The first category includes 30 articles of faith as follows: to believe in Allah, in His being and His attributes, and that He is one, has no partner, and that there is no one like Him. To believe that all things except Him were created afterwards by Him, and that only He has been there forever. To believe in the Malaika, the unfallen angels, the light beings. To believe in the revealed books. Not always what's claimed about them in the Bibles and stuff like this, but in actual revealed books that those books may link to, and stuff we don't know about to that extent. To believe that to believe in the apostles of God. To believe in fate, whether good or bad, it is all from Allah. To believe in the life after death, including questioning in the grave, punishment in the grave, resurrection to come, to life after death, the day of Qiyamah, giving account of one's deeds, passing over the Sirat. To believe in the existence of Jannah, that, the garden of the hereafter, and that by the grace of Almighty Allah, the believers will live in it forever. To believe in the existence of Jahannam, the hell, with its severest punishments, and that it will last forever. Or long abiding is more literal, but to love Almighty Allah, to love or hate of other people for the pleasure of Allah, i.e. to love the piousness and hate disobedience. It includes, of course, loving the Sahaba, especially the Muhajirs, the Ansar, the descendants of Rasulullah. To love Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, which includes cherishing the highest esteem for him, offering salawat on him, and the benedictions. And following Sunnah, is a way of life. To practice ikhlas, which includes avoiding showing off and hypocrisy. To do tawbah, i.e. to repent over one's sins and from the core of the heart, and to determine not to repeat them. To fear Almighty Allah. To hope and pray for the rahmah, mercy of Allah. To not lose hope of the rahmah, mercy, to be granted by Almighty Allah. To remain thankful to Allah. To be faithful in one's promise. To exercise patience. To show humbleness, which includes respect for elders. To show kindness and mercy, which includes kindness to children. To be content with one's fate. To practice tawakkul, i.e. to depend on Almighty Allah. To refrain from self-praise and self-importance. This includes self-improvement also. Not to bear rancor, constant feeling of bitterness and jealousy against others. To cultivate shyness, omitted by Aini. So Aini doesn't have this in this list. Okay. To control one's anger. Not to deceive, cheat, or suspect others. To expel from one's heart the love of worldly things, including that for wealth and status. According to Allama Aini, Rahmata alayh, this list covers all the functions of the heart. If anything is found apparently missing, a little thought will show that it is covered by one item or the other on this list. And that's one of the things too, is that people say, oh, this isn't mentioned. Oh, but the guidance to it is, if you pay attention to this here. And this especially goes for the Quran, is that really, technology may be different, but we're given rules for rides, not just horses, that sort of thing. The second category includes the functions of the tongue, and there are 7 essentials in this respect as follows: recitation of La ilaha illallah, recitation of the Quran, acquisition of ilm, religious knowledge, propagation of religious knowledge to others, dua, i.e. supplication, dhikr of Allah, including istighfar, making mention, including seeking forgiveness, to abstain from loose and useless talk. The third category includes bodily actions. In this respect, there are 40 essentials, which are divided into 3 parts. The first part includes the actions that relate to the self or person of an individual. These are 16 as follows: observing cleanliness of the body, clothes, and place. The cleanliness of the body includes wudu, ablutions, and obligatory bath, ghusl, the purification from the menstruation and the post-birth blood, offering salah, including fard, oblige, nafil, and, voluntary, and qadda salah. This would mean offering and fulfilling its prerequisites as given in the Fadail of salah. Giving sadaqah, charity, which includes zakah, sadaqat al-fitr, the equivalent of the food for a day, 4 heaping handfuls, and or such. Voluntary charity, feeding people, entertaining guests, and liberating slaves. Fasting, obligatory as well as non-obligatory. Performing Hajj, obligatory or non-obligatory. This includes doing Umrah and Tawaf. So there's different types of the pilgrimage for this age. Itikaf, remaining in a mosque for full devotion, which includes search for Laylatul Qadr, the last 10 nights of Ramadan. Leaving one's home for the defense of the deen. This includes hijrah, migration for the sake of Allah. You're living under a dictator doesn't allow freedom of religion. It can be more honorable to help try to bring this about in your society, but no blame on those who leave, or, if those people leave to keep their faith secure, that's a good thing too. Fulfilling one's promises, firmness in one's oaths, payment of compensation money if due, covering the essential parts of the body as required by Islam during Salah and outside of Salah. It's not, if people are present that shouldn't see that part of your body, that's, offering of sacrifice and taking care of animals to be offered. It's not just, and that goes for the rest of one's eating of meat. It's not just, the name of God was mentioned when it was killed. The process has to be correct. The way the animals were raised was correct. If the animals are drugged, hopped up on all sorts of drugs, then obviously they weren't treated right. Their cages are too filthy. You have to, and other things. We want sober animals that were eating, that were humanely treated their whole life. That's so hard to get? Well, yeah, it's hard to get, but very rarely do people have to eat meat to survive, so that sort of strictness. And also they don't watch each other be killed and various things. I mean, when you hunt and you shoot down a couple animals with a bow or a gun or something, it's different, but making arrangements for the funerals, payment of debt, correctness in dealings and avoiding usury, to bring or to give interest, giving correct evidence, not concealing the truth. The second part, which includes action involving treatment of one's relatives and others, has 6 essentials. Getting married as a safeguard against adultery, to discharge obligations towards one's family members, servants, and subordinates, good treatment toward one's parents and being kind and obedient to them, bringing up one's children in a proper way, remaining on good terms with one's relatives, obeying one's elders and following their advice. The third part includes 18 essentials which relate to our social obligations to society in general. To rule one's domain with justice, to support the rightful party, to obey the rulers provided their orders are not against religion, to work for the betterment of mutual relations, including punishing wrongdoers and doing jihad against rebels, to help others in their noble deeds, to enjoin the good and forbid the evil. This includes work and speech for the propagation of religion, to carry out the punishments enjoined by religion for specific offenses, i.e. not to add, 10 years in prison for this rather than something could be taken care of in the day and the person gets back to work, and they're actually far or less likely to commit the offense with that, sort of offense. Or a lot of places have death penalties. A lot of them are brought about by looking to the Bible or colonial powers or something like this. Literally, for 1,000 years of Muslimin supposedly being in charge, nobody thought to have such and such rule until the British ruled them, or until after World War II or something. So it's like, yeah, you can't really say this is Islam. Some stuff did happen early on, because they were like, well, the Christians killed these people, why can't we? It's like, well, no, that doesn't work that way. But you don't add or take from the punishment, in other words. To take part in jihad, i.e. to fight in the path of Allah, this includes guarding the defense lines. To pay off our dues and return the amana, the trust. That includes payment of the khums, payment of tax equal to a fifth of the war booty. Tax should be highest on that, so it's not as strong of a mercenary thing. You should have better intentions when you go to war than for salary purposes. We're warned about mercenaries in our faith. To lend to the needy and pay back debts, to discharge our obligations to our neighbors and to be kind and helpful to them, to be fair in one's business dealings, including saving and earning in a lawful manner, to be careful in expenditure. One should guard against overspending as well as leisureliness, to wish salam and respond to the salam, to say Yarhamukallah, may God have mercy on you when somebody happens to sneeze, or Yahadakallah if they're not Muslim. Not to be the cause of trouble and loss to others, to avoid idle and useless pursuits and vulgarity, to clear troublesome obstructions from the way. The 77 branches of Iman have been counted above. Some of these can be put together as, for example, earning and spending can be put together under fair dealings. Careful consideration can enable one to cut down the total to 70 or 67, the numbers given in some ahadith. The above list has been prepared mainly from the commentary of Allama Aini Rahmatullahi alayh on the Sahih Bukhari, wherein these things are mentioned in their order of merit. Selection has been made also from other books, i.e. Fath al-Bari of Ibn Hajar and Mirqat of Allama Bari. Scholars have written that the basic essentials of Iman are as given above. One should ponder over these and be thankful to Almighty Allah for the good qualities acquired already, because all goodness is possible only through His grace and mercy. In case of deficiency in respect of any quality, one should strive for it and keep on praying that Almighty Allah may grace him with His blessings. Wama tawfiqi illa billah. And what we are concerned about, and what are we concerned about except for God?